Is marketing expenses, is that something that you see wholesalers when they get in the game? They're like, they try to get away from the cold calling, right? Door knocking on
Mm-hmm.
the phones. So in my head, I'm like, oh, once you mention the marketing expenses, they probably just jack up their marketing, even though they just haven't done the work. Do you see that happen a lot?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because remember, it's human nature to want to do the easiest, simplest thing possible. Okay, and in this society, I mean, I got Instacart, I got Instagram, I got Postmates. I don't have to wait for nothing, right? That's not reality of success, and this is part of the ugliness of success, that sometimes you don't have big budgets, and so always spending more money at it is not always the solution. I understand some of the gurus will tell you that because that's how they get paid sometimes, but at the same time, the ones who are true, they're going to tell you, yeah, put the marketing dollars together, but have a follow-up side, have a discipline side, and have a good mindset. If you have those three things, you have a good discipline, good mindset, and a good follow-up process. Those three things are going to be way more important than just having more marketing dollars, put out more money, because I can help other people close their deals. When I first started, I didn't have no marketing dollars. I went to all the networking events and told them, hey, any deals you can't close, let me close those deals for you. Let me take all your leftovers and I'll cook up a whole Thanksgiving out of your leftovers. And so that's what you're able to do. If you have no dollars, you can add value to other people if you have the right mindset. You have the discipline to call leads that maybe be perceived as cold or old leads, and you have a follow-up to touch, because this is a timing sport. This is a contact sport and a timing sport. You got to touch people, and it's just all a matter of that time, that one day the AC goes out, the one day, the wife decides they want to leave, and you got to be on the call.
So good. Talk to me about, we just went over, call affirmations. We went over the 3x3 method, the ARC method. Talk to me, once they have these cooking, right? They're getting some deals. What's the next step? How do you scale? And is a wholesale business scalable?
Yes. I believe most success is scalable if you do these three things. And I'm swagger jacking, so I gotta give a shout out to Chris Ronzio with Trainul. It's my boy. But it really applies, all right? You gotta do it, document it, then delegate. Do it, document. Too many people barely do it at all. They don't document anything, and then they want to delegate. Let me get my VAs here. Mellors go out there. PPC goes out there. I get $100 million, and I get my Bugatti and get out of here. Right? That's Instagram. That's not the reality. The reality is, once you do it yourself, document your processes. Take time. Get the book traction. Really get with them. I mean, there's integrators you can work with that you can just pay to consult you to help mind map out your processes. And then once you do it, then you start delegating, get some people who help you off with sales, because if there's no sales and deals coming in, the rest of the machine doesn't go. So that's something you could delegate, but don't delegate closing. Delegate that front end initial touch person who's doing those follow-ups, those 3x3 follow-ups, so that they are setting appointments for you, so that you are able to say, hey, I'm able to start getting some quantifiable numbers in place to say, every 50 deals, every 50 leads I touch, I make 10 offers. Out of 10 offers, I close 2 of them. So now I could start scaling up. Now I can start bringing people in to start handling those numbers and have a predictive number that I could quantify to start making revenue. And then I can start freeing myself up. Then I could start doing bigger deals. I could start looking at portfolio deals. I could start looking at rentals. I could start doing more sub twos and acquiring my own portfolio for myself. But most people want to jump there and don't document it, don't delegate, don't have their numbers to know this is, now I'm ready to do that. They do it really prematurely. And unfortunately, if you do it too fast, which a lot of people, I see a lot of people do, you go to these events, you get hyped up, you see everybody else making money, you have a little bit of money, you max out the credit cards. Well, if you don't know your process and you don't know your numbers, your expenses are still going and you don't know where the leak's in the boat. And you're sinking. And because of the shame and embarrassment, you don't talk to people, you don't lower your expenses, and then you go out of business. And you're working at 9 to 5. So this process, it's a little slower, it's not sexy, but sustainable.
So good, bro. So let's talk about, you mentioned like rentals, portfolio. When should people, you're making money wholesaling, right? What's the average? I mean, it probably depends on so many different things, but like an average wholesale deal that someone who's just starting, what does that look like? Is it 5,000? Is it 25?
It depends. I mean, obviously that varies from market to market. If you're in Idaho, you can be a little lower. Detroit, you can be a little lower. But if you're in California, it might be a little different, right? On average, I think the national average is roughly about 8 grand is the national average right now. So I think average 8 grand. And I think, I have, I have some Jewish fundamentals. So I want to make sure my expenses, my income always over covers my expenses. So I'm not going to free myself until you really have all your expenses covered, not just your marketing expenses, your lifestyle expenses too. All right. So until you have your lifestyle expenses and your operational expenses covered, don't think about trying to scale up and do a bunch of other things yet because you're not ready for that. So really finesse the basics, cover your bills. The real flex, right, is can you pay 3 years of expenses off? Can you spend a year? Do you already have a year of expenses covered? Already bank account on auto payment? I recommend at least have 6 months of expenses covered before you start saying, all right, I'm ready to start doing some other projects. I'm ready to start swerving on my lane a little bit because I have processes and teams and reserves covering me that warrants me to be able to go out so that if I start dipping on my numbers, my expenses, my reserves will cover me so I can always step in and don't fall flat on my face. So I think about 6 months of reserves for both life expenses and business expenses is the perfect time to really start investing. Can you get a sub two here and there? Sure. I'm not trying not to, but to really take your eyes off the ball, don't do that until you have those covered.